After many successful years together and an NBA championship to show for it, it appears as though the Fred VanVleet era in Toronto is over. But why is he choosing the Rockets over the Raptors, and is it actually a good thing to be getting his contract off the books? Let's get into it. Welcome everybody to Amateur Hour Sports, the YouTube channel dedicated to Toronto Raptors content in videos, live streams, and shorts. If you enjoy what you see from today's video and you want to see more content just like it, especially as we get into free agent frenzy, make sure you're subscribed to the channel for all the great content on the way and hit that notification bell as well so you never miss out on any of the uploads. But it really is starting to feel as though the Fred VanVleet era in Toronto is over. If you guys don't know, NBA free agency officially gets started today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. June 30th at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. Technically, you're not even supposed to have conversations with free agents until that time, but verbal agreements likely will be in place tonight after 6 p.m. reported by Shams and Woj, though technically you can't officially sign a contract until after July 6th, but we'll have confirmation and we'll know when a player is gone. And all signs from the reports are pointing towards Fred VanVleet signing for the Houston Rockets. So how did we get to this point where Fred VanVleet was on the verge of leaving the team for free in free agency? Many Raptors fans were upset by the reported valuation of Fred VanVleet. I've been saying for a number of months that he's likely going to receive in the range of $30 million a year for 3 or 4 years. It felt as though, based on reports, the Raptors were more likely to provide the point guard with a 3-year deal worth $90 million, and it felt like that was something that he was going to take. It always felt to me, I wasn't fully confident, but it felt to me like Fred VanVleet was going to remain in Toronto. That was until this monster offer came in from the Houston Rockets. It's been confirmed by a number of sources, and Mark Stein reported that the Houston Rockets have a 2-year deal worth just over $83 million on the table for Fred VanVleet. And going to a state where there's no state income tax for individuals, getting that much money over a 2-year period, you can see why Fred VanVleet is super enticed by this offer. And the Raptors, $30 million already felt like a lot for Fred VanVleet. In reality, based on the talent of the player, he's probably worth in the range of $25 to $27 million. But based on having his bird rights, based on having to actually find a replacement if he does leave, and other factors, it would shoot him up to $30 million. And I felt comfortable giving the player $30 million a year, but I really don't want to give much more than that. And if the Raptors want to match anything that the Rockets are providing here, it's likely going to cost a 4-year, $130 million contract. And to be honest, a 4-year commitment at that much money, it seems like too great of a risk, and it's starting to feel as though Fred VanVleet is going to leave and sign that $83.6 million contract with the Houston Rockets. Now, many people have been saying maybe the report is fake. Has to be fake. How could a team actually offer Fred VanVleet over $40 million per year after the season that he just had? Well, you better believe it. Again, it was Mark Stein who reported it, and a number of other very credible sources like Mark Stein have confirmed it. Zach Lowe of ESPN has also confirmed this to be true. We don't have confirmation of whether or not Fred VanVleet is going to sign it. We have the speculation that would be a big surprise around the league if he didn't sign it, and it would be a big surprise from myself. Just look how much money is down there on the table for Fred VanVleet. So at this point, what can the Raptors really do? You can't match that offer, and if you're Fred VanVleet, you're going to take that. Why would you not take that much of a financial investment from the Houston Rockets? And when that contract is done, Fred VanVleet is a free agent once again and is likely young enough to be able to sign another big contract. It makes complete sense from Fred VanVleet's perspective, and from Houston's perspective. They have all these young guys on rookie contracts. Why not bring in a veteran presence? Why not bring in this leadership sort of player with championship pedigree, super talented, that can help the team grow over the next 2 years? And then in 2 years, when the new TV deal kicks in for the NBA, $41 million in salary opens up for Houston, who is very well liked in the free agent market, for Houston to go attack a star free agent to supplement that young core. I mean, it makes complete sense for both parties to be able to do this. And unfortunately, the Raptors are just priced out of this whole situation. So what are the next steps for Toronto to make this up? Everything has pointed towards the Raptors wanting to be competitive for the upcoming season. And a major part of that was going to be to bring back Fred VanVleet. We still have to bring back Jakob Poeltl, and that has become a little bit more important at this point to bring back Jakob Poeltl. But what are the steps going to be to try and replace Fred VanVleet in Toronto? Based on who could be available for trade, based on the free agents that are available, we have to put it past replacing Fred VanVleet. We are simply not going to get the same level of talent out of the point guard that replaces Fred VanVleet. But there are talented point guards there who could come into the team and do a job and potentially heighten the abilities of other players in the team who can get more touches, like Scotty Barnes and OG Anunoby. That $30 million contract the Raptors are going to offer Fred VanVleet, if they wanted to be competitive this year, it would have made sense. You give him the contract, you have another competitive season. I thought we underachieved last season and we're going to be better this season, so I think we can go above 41 wins and go to about 44, 45 wins this season. We do run it back and keep Fred VanVleet, but without Fred VanVleet, things become a lot more difficult. The depth would have been an issue if we brought back Fred VanVleet, but the top tier of the roster is also going to have problems because Fred VanVleet, the biggest problem with his last 2 years in Toronto, he's had to play so many minutes because he hasn't had a backup point guard. Kyle Lowry, we sing the praise of Kyle Lowry, and for very good reason. But for most of Kyle Lowry's tenure here, especially in the later years of his tenure, his backup was Fred VanVleet, except for the season where they both started. But Kyle Lowry's backup was Fred VanVleet. Imagine having that good of a backup coming for you. A person who was a 6th Man of the Year finalist, Fred VanVleet. Fred VanVleet, in his time as the Raptors starting point guard, his backups have been Malachi Flynn, Delano Banton, and Jeff Doughton. Not trying to disrespect those guys too much, but there's different levels to this, which maybe caused some injuries as a result of having to play so much. But it's going to be incredibly difficult to find somebody to take on the ball handling load that Fred VanVleet took, the spacing that Fred VanVleet provides, and the pick and roll reps, which was working extremely well with Jakob Poeltl once he joined the team. It's going to be difficult to replace this, but what sort of players can we look to target? Gabe Vincent is the best name likely for the Raptors to be able to target in free agency. And Fred VanVleet leaving, Raptors are actually still over the cap, even if Fred VanVleet walks for free. We're still well under the tax, which is a good thing. There's room to sign players. And it also likely opens up, based on what I've seen, the full mid-level exception for the Raptors. And I think a player like Gabe Vincent could be enticed by taking a full mid-level exception. Maybe he goes a little bit higher. Maybe the Raptors give a little bit higher, which leaves the mid-level exception open to sign another player. But in this situation, like the Raptors, Grady Dick was a great draft pick. You still need to add another movement shooter. In the point guard position, Gabe Vincent's not going to be enough. You can't play Gabe Vincent 35, 38 minutes per game. So you need to find another point guard. If you bring in a point guard, you need to bring in two that can get consistent minutes for this team. I think Gabe Vincent could be one of them, but other point guards around the league you could look for. Javon Carter's a free agent. Good pull-up shooter, good three-point shooter, good point-of-attack defender, good ball handler, everything the Raptors need from this player. Dante DiVincenzo's another good option. Monte Morris could be an option out of a trade. Another player, D'Angelo Russell, is a player that's a free agent. I'm not big on D'Angelo Russell. He can't play defense, and the shot selection still worries me. Defense doesn't make it up. Playmaking doesn't make it up, so I'm not a big fan of D'Angelo Russell. But if the Raptors could get a combination of Gabe Vincent and Javon Carter, I'd be pretty happy with that, but it still wouldn't be quite enough to replace Fred VanVleet. So ultimately, are we better off without Fred VanVleet? No. The team is worse. Long term, I guess we'll have to wait and see what the implications are, but if the team wanted to be competitive this season, the signs are pointing towards that being the case. The team has gotten worse. Bringing in new players, the team can still have a successful season, but it's going to be more difficult to do that with an inferior player in the position. And there's these conversations, well, it's just easy. Put Scotty Barnes at the point guard. It doesn't really work as well as people think it's going to be with Scotty Barnes at point guard. We saw it a little bit last season, but there's just not enough self-creation from Scotty Barnes. He's not a good enough pick-and-roll handler and passer, and he doesn't apply enough pressure on the rim with the ball in his hands or enough pressure on the defense as a jump shooter to really maneuver the defense enough to help out his teammates. I think his best position is going to be in the forward, maybe even as a point forward sometimes. And he's an excellent initiator of offense in the full court, just not quite there in the half court. So this team still needs a point guard or somebody to fill in that role to be able to do that job. All we really need, somebody who can handle the ball, facilitate for the better players in the team, and space the floor. They have to be able to space the floor. Siakam can't really space the floor. Barnes is not a good shooter. Poeltl doesn't shoot at all. 3 non-shooters really in the starting 5. OG Anunoby can shoot, but he's not a movement shooter. You really need to find a dynamic shooter in the point guard position for this team in order to be able to start him. Maybe Gary Trent slots in, but that probably moves Scotty Barnes to the bench. So there is a lot of complications with this team right now as to what the fix is going to be. And hey, I'm saying all this before we've even confirmed it, but all signs here are pointing towards if Fred VanVleet has a 2-year, $83.6 million offer on the table in a state where there is no individual income tax, there's no state tax on his income, I don't see any reason why Fred VanVleet should not take that. And it's yet another key piece of that 2019 championship who walks for free. Kawhi Leonard, Danny Green walk for free. Those weren't surprising, but they walk for free. Marc Gasol leaves for free. You get no value out of that. Serge Ibaka walks for free. You get no value out of that. Now Fred VanVleet walks for free. It's becoming too big of a theme of players leaving this team for free. And there was the option once again at the trade deadline to take this team in the other direction and not have to worry about this. But if Fred VanVleet walks and this team struggles a little bit this season, Scotty Barnes' extension is at the end of the year. But you also have to pay Siakam, whose contract will expire. And I don't think he's going to sign an extension this summer, given the trade rumors going on about him. Will he want to stay or will he want to be on a competitive team? A big question. OG Anunoby's extension eligible this summer, up to $26.7 million. But if the rumors are true and Cam Johnson's about to sign on for at least $25 million a year, OG's going to want way more than that at the end of the season. He's going to become an unrestricted free agent. So things in Toronto look a little bit bleak right now. And I think the first domino to fall here on what could be a big problem for the team going forward is Fred VanVleet leaving for free. But what do you guys make of this whole situation? What do you make of Fred VanVleet leaving? Is it good? Is it bad? Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below, because that is it for me for today. Thanks so much for watching this video. Drop a like if you did enjoy. Remember to subscribe to Amateur Hour Sports for more content like this. We'll have another video tomorrow reacting to the first day of free agency as long as the Raptors are involved. So I'll see you then. I'll see you again next time for another video.